I personally believe this is going to give birth to a web of random websites popping up. It's going to make smaller websites jumping up a lot more popular. More and more people will come into the market, but they probably won't be very good websites. I can see a lot of spam.
Hello, how are things, lads?
Lads,
Back for another week of the weekly SEO discussion.
Yeah, you did a good job last week as well. I was very impressed with your topics.
Oh yeah, I was wondering, were you gonna watch back?
Yeah, no, I did. It's very good.
Yeah, we had a nice one last week, in fairness, but
yeah.
we're glad to have you back. The
Yeah,
expert.
you're back to off to, was it Barcelona?
Paris, going to Paris.
Paris, Paris.
Yeah,
You're going. Yeah. Oh,
so
croissants and coffees. Actually,
exactly.
you're not a coffee man, are you?
I kind of, I am and I haven't. I drink
Yeah.
more tea, right? But I drink a bit of coffee too. I'll have to over there now. I want the Paris tea, like. Right, so we'll fly into this. So the news and updates there. So the first one here is, so Google now surfaces more videos, forums, and user-generated content in search results. So I think there's something, there was an article about this in Search Engine Journal. It's probably something that they've kind of been saying for a while, but as their reasoning for why they're kind of moving towards this, I like this little quote that they said. So Liz Reid said, so where are you getting your cooking? She said, where are you getting your cooking recipes? Are you getting them from a newspaper? Or are you getting them from YouTube? You know, which I think is a good point. Like these days, everyone is getting like, recipes from videos, like, you know.
Yeah, and even the short form bullet point ones as well seem to be doing very well.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the days of, I love how she compared it to the newspaper, like the day of having a kind of an old crumpled up recipe that was handed down.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you
gone.
just kind of stick the video on and follow what they're doing now instead. Isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, we do that in the kitchen. Stick the iPad on, go through.
Yeah.
Even
It's the
though I
handiest thing. And
wouldn't
you
be
get
the
to
best
see
chef.
it. It's so visual, like you get to see.
Yeah,
see
that's good. And do you know this brings in? This is why search everywhere optimization is such a trending topic at the moment. It's optimizing for all these different platforms because now you're going to have that tab at the top of Google where it's not, it's all, which is your standard blue links, where you're going to see long form video, different search results. People also ask those recipes in snippets, probably in AI overviews, but you're also going to have AI mode. Now you're going to have the short form video, videos, images. So yeah, it sounds like they're, in all
Yeah.
fairness, they are kind of looking at how the search is evolving to match the. It's kind of like a new way of searching or a new trend.
Yeah. I suppose you can't blame them for trying to keep up to date with what people want, you know, what people are searching for. But
Yeah,
it's tricky for people to for
yeah,
businesses to move straight over to suddenly, you know, video form and short video content. But
yeah. They're looking for habits, and what's the big change in behavioral search? It's a lot of people are using ChatGPT now and expecting that type of format answer. So
yeah. Right, next up. So, new WordPress vibe coding plugin simplifies building websites. So 10 Web, I think, is who made it. They enabled, or it's who made it. I think they enables users to easily generate a working WordPress site from a prompt and then refine it with a chat. So this is a very kind of
I saw this and had a little play around with it before before we jumped on.
what do you make of it?
Yeah, it looks great. You can already tell though there'll be some things that'll be left out, like there probably is good SEO, but you really have to guide it. It will be guided by prompts. So if your prompt is bad, your website's going to be bad. So
Yeah,
yeah, you really do need to know what to ask and what to put in, what to input. But there probably is going to be a huge amount of issues with this, and I personally believe this is going to give birth to a web of random websites popping up. It's going to make smaller websites jumping up a lot more popular. More and more people will come into the market, but they probably won't be very good websites. I can see a lot of spam happening off this, and a lot of that there's programmatic SEO, which Google kind of frowns upon when it's done in large scale AI. But this
yeah,
gives it the opportunity to happen, really. Look, it's a great plugin for designers, great plugin for people who want to start a website.
yeah. I say programmer or web developers won't be too happy about it, but like you said, I'm sure it probably has its issues. But yeah, because I think there's already an article on the Search Engine Journal as well, about a few things John Mueller from Google said about it, some issues he already saw with it, with some websites, some SEO issues. So, which I'll be interested in. There'll probably be more similar kind of plugins to follow. I'm guessing, this is probably the first of many different iterations of this.
Yeah, all that will give birth to a market, and sure, it'll just mean that other platforms now, because this is kind of like, it looks like a page builder type of plugin, like an Elementor, except AI based. But how long until Elementor release something like this, or WP Bakery, or whoever it is? How long until WordPress builds it into its own platform?
Yeah, you can only assume that they're probably working on that in the background now. Right. So next up, so Google redesigns how search ads are labeled. So I don't know if you saw this. I kind of only spotted it actually in the article, but the sponsored results now at the top of Google are all come under one heading for sponsored results rather than each ad saying sponsored results over it. So they kind of look like organic results. And the other big thing then is at the bottom of that there is a hide sponsored results button, so you can hide them all then with one click. So it's interesting. It's kind of like making them more sneaky in one way, but then at the same
Yeah.
time, give the user a way to just turn them off.
This almost makes you want to feature like position 2 in these search results, because the top one will look like a paid one because it says sponsored results, but that second one there,
Yeah,
third, that will actually make it look like, you're right, an organic listing, or
Yeah.
a classic organic listing.
I just had a little look there, but you can see on Ryan's one. Um, See the way it expands out there on the top results. So you have, I just Google SEO agents there, and I kind of get Madcraft as well, but there's like 5 links fanned out at the bottom, like you would get on like a regular website. So do you know, in terms of when you're setting up your PPC campaign,
There's your site links, yeah.
your site links, do they come more important now?
And they do, yeah. It's because
Yeah.
it's going to give you more dominance in the search result. But it says that taking on the suggestions in your Google Ads, that you should be putting them in. It's just tracking gets a little bit
Yes.
worse because you're not going to the landing page. It's going to, well, I suppose you could point them all to the landing page if you want, just give them different titles.
oh yeah, there's an idea. I even think it's kind of funny that, like, the sponsored result always was in bold text, but this even is like, I just feel like the fact that it isn't bold as well makes it's just interesting. The small things like that, you wonder about the differences
Well,
that make.
it kind of makes me think just the first one is sponsored, and then like
Yeah,
I'm seeing that people also search for box, and then the ones underneath. So like I would think maybe the ones underneath aren't sponsored. You know?
Yeah,
that's exactly the way I saw it. And what's this going to do to brand search? It's going to give competitors who are trying to show up under your brand that little bit more
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
extra incentive. And of course, this kind of rolled out around the same time as the AI mode.
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting change, but yeah, it's maybe a sneaky one. Next up, so
Oh yeah. So there recently, Robbie Stein, he's the Google's VP of product, I think. He was kind of given an interview, and he was asked, what SEOs and what websites should do to show up in AI and GEO and everything that's going on at the minute. So it kind of is the clearest advice from Google yet on kind of how to approach it. And he kind of gave a little bit of a background on Google's like AI and Gemini and how it builds answers and how it kind of comes up with the answers that it does, and some stuff that like SEOs and website owners and creators should kind of consider. But like you can see the takeaways there. Essentially, like the message was to just double down on good SEO fundamentals of high quality content, original content, and satisfying, user intent. But something I thought was interesting was that how the query fan out works. So he was saying that in Google's AI search, when it delivers back a response, so you could ask it, um, I don't know, where do I find Pepsi in Waterford? But it looks at that search, but then it brings in like dozens of searches in the background. It kind of fans out the query to like all related searches and then brings it into one answer.
Okay.
So like runs a lot of conventional searches in the background to kind of pull in more information to satisfy user intent. Then it kind of cites the sources, and that's how you end up with the thing on the right. Like, and something else that I thought was interesting was, like, I think we've been saying this, that Gemini, for example, is like a lot different to ChatGPT, where it's like less chatty, and he was saying it's designed that way to be less chatty, and it's kind of to double down on Google's,
Yeah.
authoritiveness and like
You're basically
advice.
saying we have the better information here.
Yeah, pretty much like. Um, so yeah, it's
I thought it was. I saw the article as well though, and like one thing that I thought was interesting was like I guess I almost thought that like the AI search is its own complete different thing, but just like because especially when you think about GEO and SEO and like do you need to optimize differently for AI? Like the article kind of reminds you that like the AI is using Google's normal search engine in the background, kind of. So it kind of like reminds you that it's using the search engine that you would use normal SEO for. I just thought that was kind of interesting. It was a good like reminder of that.
Yeah.
yeah. I think like I was reading a kind of a thing off this, but like instead of maybe answering one question, you need to just have a very comprehensive article. So instead of like having, I don't know, best plumbers in Waterford, it should be like, yeah, how to fix like a leaky tap, and have all that information, and then a link to the best plumbers. Like, I think you need to be covering maybe a lot more stuff than just like the single kind of search query that someone's going to search for. Like, I guess if you're taking into account all the searches that happen in the background.
Yeah. Very good. Right. So that's the end of the news. So marketing tip of the week. So I threw this one in because we kind of just put up a few ad campaigns, and this was something that I realized more after the fact that would be very handy. So, and I think Keane, you kind of told me that this is what people do as well. That, like you make kind of easily resizable ads. So for Google and Meta ads, you need a lot of different sizes, different aspect ratios for the ads. But basically, if you're clever and play your cards right, you can make one size in a 1 by 1 that will fit kind of multiple different aspect ratios. So it saves you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and like doesn't necessarily look any worse, in this
Yeah.
little quick example I drew up there.
Yeah. If nothing, it makes resizing and putting in other graphics around it easier as well. So
But I think we were even saying beforehand that Canva do have a tool for like easily resizing designs as well. Now it can be depending on how much components there is to the graphic. There's loads of different layers. It can kind of mess things up a little bit. It gets a bit confused. But for something easy like this, it would do a good job anyway. But yeah, it's good to know for those campaigns you do need loads of different sizes of ads. So good thing to keep in mind. Right, so shallow dive of the week.
Oh yeah, like every year, like around Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Google comes out with these kind of theme things based off Google Trends. So this is the Halloween one. It's called Google's Frightiest Halloween. The link is there on the bottom. You can go in, but like it's actually kind of cool. It's it's only US based, but it'll show you all the different Halloween searches and trends that are happening at the moment. So the two I have in there is the dog costumes. So I don't know, Ryan, if you have a dog, Keen, you do, but the top search dog costume is Labubu, and then Derpy the tiger from K-pop Demon Hunters, and then yeah, it's cool though.
Crypto,
You can
Spider
crypto,
Man or the Superman movie.
but it kind of just shows you like all the different, adult costumes, kids costumes, dog costumes, like adult costumes and things like that, and like food and drink, and like the decor you see there, things people are looking for. But you can break it out by state, and I don't know if you were that way inclined for the costumes. There's like a link to buy them as well, so it's pretty cool. I'd say have a look. I like the
Our
kind of
golden retriever Teddy actually. I went into the kitchen yesterday, and my wife had bought him a skeleton costume, but he was
No way.
it
he'd make
didn't go
he'd
around
make
his
a
stomach.
very good crypto, I think, Ian.
Ted,
Yeah.
he could do.
He'll be a big skeleton. He's
Yeah,
a he's a big fella.
when you see him compared to other Goldens, you're like, oh god, him and me need to walk more.
Aries just big boned, big
Yeah.
boned. But no, that looks very cool. I think just the whole interface of it too, like, is really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like 80s kind of
Yeah,
horror style.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely
Stranger Things.
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Which is that's back soon. Actually, that's back in November, I think.
Can't wait for that. I love those 80s style shows. They knew
Yeah,
exactly the target market they were going after.
there's nothing better. Can't beat a good diner in a show.
No.
Right. So, a few of the trends this week. The Mercury Prize is the highest trending one at the moment. I think that might have just been on last night. I think Sam Fender won the Mercury Prize. It's like I didn't know this, but it's a big music prize in England. Um, Bengals versus Steelers. Does that mean anything to you, Mark?
Yeah, they were playing last night. I think the Steelers were they beaten maybe. I think it was like close. I only saw the score this morning, but it was like 33-31 or something. It's funny, like the two quarterbacks in it, like Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco, are like the oldest in the league. So like all week, I was seeing memes about how like these two are really old and like they're both my age. You know? But yeah, it's like I think we were saying this: the NFL to be popping into Irish search trends.
Literally, yeah.
Like,
It's almost as prevalent as like a storm or a weather warning now.
yeah, and like the Steelers played in Dublin there a couple of weeks ago, so
They were all
but
around.
yeah, it's good to see.
I'm living in
Good to see.
Cove. They were all around
And
there.
Um,
Leinster
Jack.
Munster, that's on tonight, isn't it?
Leinster Munster on tonight. I think Westlife released tour dates for next year in Ireland.
Oh, jeez, you'll be getting your tickets for that. So,
But
Ivan Yates, is he still in trouble? He didn't he? I see him there.
I didn't actually go down as far as that one.
Heather
But
Humphreys, Paul
yeah,
Murphy.
she's being sued then, Heather Humphreys.
Heather Humphreys is what?
She's being
Your man is
sued for
suing her for defamation, is he?
yeah. Some independent TD is suing her for defamation. So that couldn't have came at a much of a worse time for her.
And then that Ryanair one, Ryanair cut. Did they cut like 800,000
yeah.
seats and they cancelled 24 or 25 routes to Germany? Some kind of a tax thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like people are always annoyed at Ryanair. They're always doing something wrong.
I feel like they kind of just do whatever they want, don't they?
In all fairness, Michael O'Leary, when he hops on the camera, did you see the last one he did? He went up and it's like, oh, the buffoons in government, imbeciles. I was like, oh god.
Right, so this is the helpful tool of the week. I think I was saying to you beforehand, I think we might have done this for our very first podcast, but I think it's no harm to kind of touch on it again. It's the detailed SEO extension. It's a Chrome extension, and it's one of the handiest tools I found for checking like your kind of basics of any web page, checking if they have your title, meta description, checking the URL is indexable, and you can check other things like the headings hierarchy, like see if you have your H1s, H2s, H3s, and so on. And even stuff like your images, it'll tell you kind of if they have alt tags, if they have titles and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
So
really cool. I'm a big fan of detail. I think that was like the first thing, Keen, you told me to download when I started with you.
Yeah, it's just
And
handy.
I've been using it since. It's like
Yeah,
so handy.
I had like Mosbar is one, SEO Quake is another one, but this one just seemed to be just so simple to use.
Mm.
yeah,
And it's
no,
nice just having it there in your browser bar, you know.
yeah, Chrome extensions really are like the handiest thing. In fairness to them,
They get a bit too much sometimes if you download too many.
yeah, that's true. You have to do a little clear out sometimes.
Breaks
Yeah.
everything.
What do you have as your extensions at the moment?
I had to stop a
Oh,
few for those same reasons. I have detail, I have keyword surfer, I have a screenshot one, I have Loom, I have the Nightwatch search simulator, I have Tag Assistant, and I have Eyedropper.
yeah, the
And,
eyedropper, Grammarly details,
and I have
Metapixel
Screencastify.
helper. Tag Assistant, screenshot one, and I have what font? Because I'm always wondering what.
Oh yeah, I have that as well. I'd say you've named everyone I have there. I think I
Yeah,
mine is about the same as Mark's, and I have the eyedropper and the Watt font as well. I love the Watt font and the eyedropper. They're both handy ones just for, you know,
when you're designing stuff, yeah.
literally practical reasons when designing.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was having issues like with uh just kind of doing stuff, and I started deleting extensions one by one just to see which one was kind of causing the issue for me. Yeah.
but yeah, detailed SEO extension is one to keep. I think we probably all think. Um, right, so we'll ask the experts a few questions here before we finish up. So, in what situations do you think a new site design is necessary for a client? Because I think we've had a few of these recently, Ian.
Number one, mobile responsiveness.
Mm.
If it's not responding on mobile properly, if you have multiple versions, a desktop and a mobile one, it's not Google's crawling for mobile. So if you make a change on mobile and you don't on desktop, that desktop change isn't getting indexed really. So yeah, that'd be number one. Number two is it a 90s website? Is it very hard to see? Have you kind of updated everything to be in line with the new Accessibilities Act, that kind of stuff, to make sure that your forms are readable, the font size is big enough? Those are some areas. Now, when clients ask me, do you think I should get a new website, and they have one there, a lot of the time I'll actually just say, hang on, do you know what are your benchmarks? If there's proper benchmarks, they've had advertising campaigns, they've had their conversion rate optimization, their LTV, all this kind of stuff in place for a long time, where they've learned about their customers. But if a customer comes to me and they have barely any traffic and they haven't tested any paid media, they don't really have any benchmarks to judge from, we're better off actually just focusing on what you have, get things up and running. And if things aren't going well, then maybe we can say, right, well, maybe it is time for a redesign at some point. And depending on the size of the client, we'd look at what it is. Maybe they need an enterprise level solution where they have to go to a very popular agency who's used to handling those. Is it something quick that we can do for them as well? Like, are they on a 10-page Elementor site that we can switch over very quickly and do a great job on? But there's a lot of different factors that have to be taken into consideration as well. But yeah, those are the two main ones: responsive, and I would say if they don't have call to actions, and technology could be another reason. Actually, I should mention technology. If they're on old tech that Google doesn't like, if things aren't being crawled properly, then in those situations, yeah, it's also let's move to something like WordPress or Shopify, depending on the industry.
Yeah. Right, next up. So, how important is your landing page in your PPC strategy?
Very,
Mm.
very important. If you think about it, it's almost like with an SEO page, you have to do a lot of copy a lot of the time, or else it has to be a very popular commercial page, and sometimes you sacrifice a little bit of potential conversion rate optimization in favor of more SEO style content. But if you're paying to get someone there, you have to try and get them to convert as well as possible. So landing pages are extremely important. You'll use landing pages well, will remove the menu so there's no other focus.
Mm.
You keep the focus on the user on the page. It can't take any other action but scroll down through your copy. But some of the best things you can do on that landing page are make sure your hero, your offer is very front and present. You have to make sure that you have your testimonials and social trust. You have to have the benefits of what your service product have. And then the call to actions have to be extremely well as well. And look, your landing page should also probably have copy on there that any problems or negative thoughts someone might have about a product or service, they should be addressed so that you're trying to convert them. You're addressing all the problems that they might have. But if your landing page doesn't match your ad text, these are the things that Google can kind of see. If your conversion rates are low, then the quality score of your ad might not be well, and you'll end up paying more for ads. So matching those up is very important.
Okay. I think you made a good point too there that like you're at the end of the day you're paying to get people to that page. Like it would be a pity for them to leave just because like that last step, the page just wasn't up to scratch, you know.
Yeah,
So
and
Yeah,
you're also wasting money on a click yourself. Then
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Like if every click to your website costs €1, as an example,
Yeah.
100 people to your website, and you're only getting two of those. Wouldn't it be amazing, instead of a 2% conversion rate, getting a 4% conversion rate by adding in something new, like maybe a secondary call to action? If you only have one on the page, you could have a
And
scrolling banner.
that was interesting what you said about the quality score, Keen. So, like, if say if I have, I don't know, I'm running an ad for 20% off running shoes, but I send somebody to like a t-shirt page for the landing page, like, would Google mark that down then in the setup and
Yeah,
give me
well,
a bigger
your
quality score?
Google, if you have your script set up, Google can understand all these things. Google scans those pages to make sure that there's nothing dodgy on them, so they
Yeah,
know if the page matches. So when you're clicking on an ad and you're, as you said, look like a running shoes and you're going through a t-shirt, that one's not too bad, but it's not relevant. So if the page relevance isn't there, then Google's going to charge you more. And
yeah,
just so you know, on the quality score side of things, if you didn't know how quality score works, and now this is a very simplified example that I'll give, but let's pretend that every click on the website is costing you €1 and your quality score is 5 out of 10. That's €1 every click. Now, what happens if your quality score is 10 out of 10? Well, because you're highly relevant, you might end up paying less per click. And we're just going to
okay.
give the example of a click might only cost you 50 cents if your ad is your quality score is 10 out of 10. While the opposite can happen if your quality score is 1 out of 10, where Google might charge you 150 per click instead of €1, where other people will get into the auction ahead of you, but they'll still take your money, but they'll charge you for it. You know, but you also have to remember that if they're looking at these signals from users, and if they're not happy with it, you should match the landing page, because it's kind of false advertising or city advertising if not. And Google really cracking down on these kind of things as well. So
Okay.
Very good.
Right. So, how is AI mode in Google going to affect clients? So we've just seen this kind of finally implemented after long last.
yeah, well, look, there's SCM Rush is bringing out some data there saying that a study has found that like 92% or something like that, AI mode sessions do not lead to a click. So that's crazy in itself. So information based queries, if you have an information based website where you were relying on a lot of those high volume search to try and build your audience and remarket to them, or else build your brand, they're not coming through to your website. So, being cited is now going to be is still going to be part of it. So your impressions are going to show in Search Console, but your click data is going to continue to decrease for the time. The only people that will be saying that, oh, we're increasing, are people who have just started a content marketing strategy who didn't have a huge amount of traffic to begin with. If you're a publisher and you had a lot of traffic, I'd be very surprised over the next 6 months if you haven't decreased by a huge amount. Like AI overviews, early studies said 30 to 40%, but now that it's AI mode, and when Google makes that a default, that's going to be a crazy change of things. And that's when a lot of publishers will kind of say, well, I have some publishers saying, well, we have a big audience. Let's just bypass Google and let's block Google from reading our website. Those things can happen.
Is it definitely going to happen? Do you think that AI mode becomes the default tab on Google? I just heard you mention it there.
Well, if Google are able to keep more people on their website and make more money from advertising, then yes. If it affects their advertising, then I don't think so. I
Yeah.
think that they'll see if it's a popular feature, or if it's something that needs to be brought back. Because Google have released multiple things, thinking it was going to be the big thing. I don't know if you guys remember Google Plus. That was going to be their big social network, and they
Oh,
killed
I
it.
remember Google Plus. Jesus, that's
Yeah,
going back now.
and they used to have, like, our authors used to feature in your Google Plus profile used to feature in your search result on the page in the search. But yeah, a few of those things are ones we'll have to consider.
And
There's
so,
going to
like,
be
in theory, there should be less like low quality clicks, right, and more like
the value of a
highly
click is
engaged.
going through the
Yeah.
roof. Yeah, yeah. Value of a click is
So,
going to be extreme, because if people are just there for information, they're just going to read it there and see. It's the people who want to take an action, such as book or buy or actually go in and get a service, like they're going to go through. So your conversion rate should go through the roof. But it's going to be a bigger change across the web, because Google's like, if you could rank number one in Google using SEO tactics, but if you're not a trusted source, you might not get
Yeah.
into these different places. You won't get
So
cited.
it's kind of more shifting to be an authority rather than ranking for like a single keyword or search term. Like,
Yeah, and that's why now what's the biggest trending thing at the moment is digital PR agencies will make a fortune out of this. Any link building services will make a fortune out of this, because that's going to be the new tactic to get mentioned in a lot of these places. There is always going to be your basic SEO and making sure that your content is very, obviously is good as well. But I feel as though that's going to be a huge shift where people are just going to be trying to build their topic authority. But I have a feeling there's a lot of places going to forget about the technical side and lose out as well,
yeah.
because
And
that is your foundation.
could I ask, like, what about local search? Would that?
Yeah, local search. Well, if you've checked out AI mode on local search, if I'm going in and if I look for a plumber near me and use AI mode, what's popping up is like they're still pulling that data from Google's map listings. Like the map listing places are
Yeah.
showing up. So it's the one that have the best. In that case, what is it? It's the ones that are closest to your location will get a lot of
Yeah.
relevance, but it's also the ones that have greater. If Google want to give the best result, it'll be location, but it'll also be based on your reputation. So like
So
that's why
like,
I
yeah,
reckon reviews are going to come more into the picture again, I think, personally.
kind of images, up to date information, opening times, closing times, that kind of business.
Yeah, if you're active, like your map listing, your Google business listing, your business profile, that's going to be a huge place to keep up to date with things and make sure, because like Google is trying to find the best information about businesses. It's trying to find
Yeah.
the most relevant. So if you're the one that's updating the whole time and you're trying to keep your information as accurate as possible, you'll probably win a lot of the time in these searches, as long as you do have that authority. So that's going to
Yeah.
be a big one.
Because, sorry, I just did a search there for a coffee shop near me in AI mode, and like a lot of the ones I'm getting, like they're close to me, but there's ones that are nearer, you know.
Yeah,
Like I'm getting a lot of ones that are down on the quay, or down by the park, and it's kind of overlooking ones that are
right
maybe
outside.
within a 4 or 5 minute walk of me, you know.
Yeah. It's going to try and give you the best suggested ones, because like that's
Yeah.
what people want. Because if someone does go in and they choose a hairdresser's that has low quality, but it's only a few feet away from you, but they've had nothing but negative reviews, well, Google's going to know that they're not happy with that. So they might not, like that might be a bad user experience. So there is all what happens after the search they're probably considering as well. I know they're
Cool.
not responsible for it, but it is
Yeah.
something. It is, but yeah, I reckon there's going to be a huge increased importance on reviews, reputation, and signals just outside your website as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's going to be a big one. The other things I reckon is going to happen is, now this was always an SEO tactic, was those the featured questions to try and bulk up things, but I reckon structuring your content in the format of those AI overviews is going to be a big opportunity to try and rank under some of them as well. Because if you can format your content in a way that LLMs like it, then you might have more of an opportunity to get into those as well.
Okay.
A lot
Yeah.
of bullet points and stuff. Maybe I'm trying to think how things show up.
Well,
And
yeah, well, seemingly there's OpenAI webinar I was on before, and it said that like they like to cite tables because it looks information. So maybe including tables in your content
Oh
could
yeah.
be the thing that decides you. Uh, LLMs are also looking for, well, these AI search anyway is looking for just making sure that it's like they don't want a random website coming in, like say best SEO agency, something like that. They don't want just someone who started up an SEO agency yesterday showing up as the top search result, but they haven't been mentioned in other lists around the web. Like, here are the
Yeah.
10 best SEO agencies in New York or something like that. You'd want to be in all of those lists and have them in place.
Mm.
So those are things to consider as well. So, but like I'd say with this one, you can expect a huge amount of volatility and unpredictability, because they're going to be testing massive amounts
Mm.
of different formats. If they lose revenue on ads when a switch happens, what are they going to do in that case? But there is a big thing about this whole thing. It's going to be very competitive, but the people who take it on board and optimize for it are going to have a big advantage early on. Yeah.
Cool.
right. So I think this is our last question. So Does social media help SEO?
I would say yes, but kind of indirectly, and I think that's probably an important distinction. I think Google said for like years that, and it's been clear about it, that social media shares and likes, things like that, they're not direct linking or ranking factors. So like a link from a tweet wouldn't have the same power as a backlink from the Irish Times. Do you know what I mean? But like having a good social media presence can still help your SEO in like a lot of indirect ways. So I suppose the biggest benefit is it kind of gets your content out there and gets your content seen. So if you share like a really good piece of content, you're putting it in front of like a wider audience and like a lot of people, and that obviously increases the chances that people will find it, link it from their own site, or like go to it on your site. So say if you get something like, if this podcast gets like picked up on like a big like search engine journal or something, and they link back to us, is they have obviously very high authority, and that will kind of boost our own like authority, and like we get the backlink, and then that's a good signal that like these guys are good and trustworthy, and like when I think the other thing too is like when you're kind of consistently posting on social media, people like the users, they kind of start to see you more, they start to recognize you, and like it's,
Brand.
yeah, it's branded, like you come across like a lot more trustworthy, like, and then people will start kind of searching for your brand name, and again, like branded searches would be a big signal to Google that you're like legitimate authority, and you know what you're talking about. And then like the other thing, again, it doesn't directly affect your rankings, but social media can send a lot of like highly engaged traffic to your website. And then if users spend time on the site, like it tells Google that like your content is good, it's high quality, it's relevant, and it's probably a good thing to be shown.
Yeah, there is one other change that happened. You're right. Like this is indirectly was always the one, but now what happens with these Instagram is now getting indexed and TikTok is indexed,
Yeah, I forgot about
and Google is like if you do the recipe example we were speaking about earlier,
that.
there's going to be a couple of short videos in the search results now, so it won't be directly impact your SEO by putting people to your website and increasing the rank, but it is going to get you more visibility. And
Yeah.
again, social media now is the SEO side of things is search everywhere optimization. You're trying to get into these platforms because your audiences are there. It won't be just like Google is that are trying to do this zero click kind of search. That doesn't mean people aren't going to really get invested in you and eventually want to buy from you down the future. It just means the buying patterns of people are changing. Like there's no longer they're seeing an ad for you, then they're going looking at your website and buying straight away. They're now seeing your ad, following you. Maybe on TikTok later they see you again. Maybe they go and check out your reviews. Then they go to your website, have a look more about you. Then they decide to, I don't know, check out your video on YouTube. And then they see the build trust, and then they might look at third-party reviews on you. So all these things before deciding to buy from you. So all these things is
Yeah.
now how a user is going online and deciding to part with their money. And that's something we have to recognize. But yeah, not indirectly, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe this question in a year's time will be a different answer depending on what's in the search results.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be all reels and TikToks and YouTube Shorts been in.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. YouTube Shorts, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like YouTube SEO is a massive thing. Yeah, so that's a very good point.
But yeah, I think that is us.
That's
So
brilliant. Yeah, and just again, like we are running an offer at the moment. So our offer is we're giving people a free 15-minute consultation to go through an SEO audit or fast track SEO audit that we are completing
Yep.
for companies who get in touch with us in October. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, lads. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
See you
lads.
later.
Have a good weekend.